The Autism Research Institute relies on the generosity of donors like you to make this webcast possible. If you enjoy this presentation, please consider making a donation. Thank you.
I'm pleased to be able to be here this morning to speak with you. When myself and my colleague who will be speaking next, Ron Leaf, were asked if we would be willing to participate in this conference, they said, how about John, you talk about schools, and Ron, you talk about language. And we said, how about I talk about language and Ron talks about schools? So there's no important logical sequence here. It's just a different topic. What do you need to know about me? Don't take anything I say on my word. I think it's important as consumers of information to learn to be critical thinkers and always be wanting to know what's the evidence to support assertions that somebody makes. So I'm going to offer some hypotheses. Hopefully they will be, for the most part, testable hypotheses. Not all of them have been put to the test yet. This is a field that it's somewhat young, although we've been at it for since the late 70s doing this. We figured a few things out, but there's, in terms of how to help kids with a emotional, behavioral, psychological approach, I have very little to offer in the realm of biological treatments. And at the end, I might just say a couple of words about how as parents you can make sense out of what kinds of things can be complementary and what combinations maybe don't make sense. So the title is already different than what's probably in your program. What our thinking changes by the hour, and that's one of the reasons why we tend not to prepare handouts in advance, because people get really frustrated when what the speaker actually says doesn't correspond with what's on the paper. So here's how we're going to do it. Tomorrow, this link will be live, autismpartnership.com. There's a button you can click on that looks like this. You see that one that says resources and research? It's a drop down, and under that there will be a thing that says conferences, and my slides and Ron's slides will be there for you to download. You will need a password, so make sure you write this down. If you forget it or have trouble with it, you can always shoot us an email. Autism Partnership 10/14, as in the date today. Okay? We'll put this up again later, and Ron is also going to provide the same information. So I thought this might be an interesting place to start. Facebook is an amazing phenomenon, and I have a niece who has a newborn, and she posted this video clip, and it literally blew me away. And after you see it, I think maybe you'll see what the connection is to our topic for today. Hang on a second, we need to get the volume up.
Can you say,
All right, let's try this again. Oh, it's still muted. Sorry about that. There's always a simple explanation.
Where's Connor's Agu? Agu. Connor, right here. Look. Hi, Agu. Ooh. Can you say Agu? Yeah. Agu. Yeah. Agu. Can you say Agu? Where's your Agu? Yeah. Uh-huh. Good job. Lose your tongue. Let me see it. Show me yours. There it is. I see it. I see it. Show me. Oh, good job. Good job. Oh, good job. Good job. Oh, there it is. Let me see. Let me see. Yeah, there it is. Good job. Aku. Yeah, there it is, a big tongue. Yeah, there it is. Good job. I see it. I see your tongue. Yeah. Good job. Good job. Where's your Agu? Agu. Yeah. Good job, buddy. I love you. Good job. Good job.
I'm a few years away from that myself, but it's always amazing when you get a chance to see the process of development unfold before your eyes. It really is a marvelous thing. And working solely with children with autism for my entire professional career, I find that it's a study in human development and contrast in development that doesn't unfold in the way that it normally should. We're behaviorists. That's the background that we come from. We use a behavioral framework for understanding what's going on with kids and what we can do to help them. But we don't have to be technical necessarily either to be able to talk about these processes in a way that people can actually relate to. So I'm going to talk about this as a starting point as some kind of feedback loop that teaches cause and effect. And that feedback loop starts working from the moment of birth. And you can see at just 11 weeks of age already what an incredible impact this feedback loop is having on the course of development of this little guy. Basically, me as an individual, I act outwardly on the environment around me. Things that I do and don't do have an impact on the world. And reciprocally, things that go on in the world have an impact back on me. All right? So there's a natural trial and error shaping process that's going on in the sense that certain actions that I make, if they have more favorable outcomes, I adjust my behavior accordingly. I'm going to do those kind of things more often. And there's a natural weeding out process in that things that I do that don't have such favorable outcomes, I basically abandon those strategies. All right? And all this happens without people having to study it, to think about it. It's actually quite a natural process. But for some reason, this process doesn't work for children with autism. Otherwise, we wouldn't see children at the age of 3, 5, 12 with the patterns of behavioral skill deficits and higher rates of behaviors that are socially unproductive. If the natural environment alone was enough to fix things, then the problem wouldn't exist in the first place. So in the field, people have in maybe the last 10 to 15 years, in the area of behavioral interventions, there's a subset of behavior analysis that's called applied verbal behavior analysis. And it's based on the theory of Skinner. And Skinner wrote a book called Verbal Behavior. And it's a theoretical analysis of language. And a lot of people consider it to be basically the be-all and end-all when it comes to analysis of language. But the reality is that Skinner's work is originally solely theoretical. Skinner himself never attempted to apply his theories, and he wasn't developing his theories for the purpose of helping children who had language difficulties. Lovaas, on the other hand, actually did teach children who were nonverbal how to talk. And this early book called The Autistic Child is really, even to read it today, a pretty amazing theoretical behavioral analysis of behaviors that right up until that time were pretty much regarded as being psychotic. Childhood schizophrenia was a term commonly used. Atypical psychosis, atypical childhood psychosis, were used virtually interchangeably. The implication was that the behavior patterns that people observed were simply crazy, all right? And within a behavioral framework, it came to be understood that these behaviors aren't crazy at all, but they actually serve very real functions to the individuals. In developing language and a larger overall skill repertoire, Lovaas talked about basically making connections between antecedent events and the behaviors that people would be expected to exhibit. And talked about, as Doreen portrayed in terms of behavioral excesses and behavioral deficits, what that constellation, what that behavioral picture looks like for kids on the autism spectrum. The kind of input stimuli that we're talking about here would be things like seeing objects in the environment, observing people doing various actions, seeing pictures of things, hearing spoken words. Any of these and many more things can constitute the kind of input stimulus which should be the occasion for learning. And then the individual responses that a child can make include things like performing specific actions, speaking, choosing a picture from a few choices that are provided to them, or finding a specific item. So the programs, the teaching programs, and the foundations of learning include these four really foundational areas of teaching. And each one of them consists of a link up between a specific kind of input stimulus and a certain kind of response that's necessary. So a skill that we would call nonverbal imitation, and it's called nonverbal because there's also, as the name would imply, a type of imitation that's verbal, all right? And nonverbal imitation is simply you see somebody do something, and in close temporal succession, you perform that exact action. Copying, all right? Matching, there's many forms of matching. One of the easiest types is simply to make an association between two objects that go together. Now, they could go together for different reasons. It might be that they are literally identical, all right? So you can put the shoe with the shoe and the ball with the ball, the cup with the cup. You can also have matching where things go together for some other reason that tends to be more abstract, okay? Like a pencil would go with the paper, okay? And a toothbrush would go with toothpaste, right? Putting two things together. In that case, the reason they go together is because they are used to achieve a specific function. They're used together. the first two, imitation and matching, would be considered areas of learning that are nonverbal. So an individual who has significantly impaired language ability can still be quite proficient in these areas that don't require language to be successful. Okay? I'm going to show you some video clips that'll bring this to life, hopefully. The next two that I'm going to talk about then are language-based. And basically it comes down to either, think of it this way, receiving language, meaning you hear, you take in language from the environment, and you need to act on it. That's called receptive language, all right? So we have an input stimulus. For example, you hear a spoken word, and your task is to find the item that corresponds to that spoken word. That's a receptive label, okay? Expressive means that I'm putting the language out there. I'm expressing myself. I'm the one who's doing the talking in this case. And if someone shows me an object and I can name it, Lovaas would call that expressive labeling, okay? So this approach to learning starts at a very simple, concrete level, and it progresses to more complex and more abstract kinds of learning. But it's important to be proficient at these early types of learning in order to build on it. Within nonverbal imitation, for example, we have probably the easiest kind of thing for a child to learn would be imitating an action that involves an object, all right? So if you say to a child, do this, clap your hands, I got to think that human beings are pre-wired to perform this action. It's something that's very easy for kids to learn to do. In fact, we'll even do it spontaneously. But what we're talking about here is that it occurs as imitation, meaning that it should occur when someone else demonstrates the action. That's what imitation is all about. So going about clapping at random times is not necessarily a functional skill. All right? It may or may not be. It depends on the context. All right? But because of the fact that there's a tangible outcome to this action of like slapping my hands together, I get a feeling, a strong proprioceptive kinesthetic feeling, and there's a sound that goes with it. It's an easier action for kids with learning difficulties to catch on to than something like do this. Okay? For a lot of kids, do this is nothing. It's like, I haven't done anything. All right? It's a non-functional, non-meaningful action. Now, if you take and have the child stand at arm's length away from a doorbell button and say, do this, and you model pushing the button, which activates a doorbell, they'll perform the action fairly readily, okay? So imitation that involves manipulation of objects is about the easiest place to start for teaching. And then on into large body movements, and then it progresses into multiple steps, carrying out 2 to 3 step actions, and making finer discriminations, okay? Like touch your nose versus touch your mouth. Okay, it's all kind of like here, right? So those kind of differentiations become more and more important, all right? With matching, the same kind of progression where we start with putting objects with objects. Okay, they're physical things. You can hold them. You can see them. They make sounds. You can drink from them. Very concrete and immediate for learning purposes. Matching pictures with pictures is a much more abstract kind of association, even when the pictures are identical. There's lots of kids who can easily do object matching who will struggle with matching pictures. And when you see that kind of discrepancy, it's an indication of a developmental sequence. Okay? It doesn't mean you have to learn objects first, but it's more likely that you'll be successful at matching pictures if you are already able to match objects. Okay? All right, so here's an example. This is nonverbal imitation.
This. Very good. Hey, good stuff. All right, let's try it again. Yeah! There you go. Yeah, good job, buddy. Yeah, super good.
An empty table is a lovely thing
Oh, you're all done, okay?
because it means your work is done and you get to go play. That's contingency, all right? That's understanding cause and effect. Do this first, then you get to do this, okay? If I push a button, it's going to make a sound. If I look at you, you're going to do something nice for me, all right? This is the kind of contingency that we're trying to build in the repertoire of children with autism. Because it's not happening by itself, we have to take extra measures to try to get this process moving along. One of the things that you might notice here, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the degree of structure within behavioral approach to teaching. A lot of times people think, okay, ABA, discrete trials, shackled to a table, 40 hours a week, down in the basement, right? Just cramming away language, language, language. It's not like that at all. It's a continuum that can be structured, but it aims to become natural. We're striving from the minute already for Jacob there. We want him to be out on the playground, kicking a soccer ball around with his friends, and having meaningful connections with them and understanding what he's doing, okay? Because anybody can float around amongst a group of kids, and there might be a ball that you come in contact with. There's not a lot of glory in that. What we're aiming for is understanding and connectedness. I'm going to skip through some of this. So why is it that this natural behavior shaping process by itself isn't enough? Why is it that we have to go to such lengths as having hours and hours a week of direct instruction where we're intensively and repeatedly practicing skills? I have to say we don't know the answer. I could dream up all kinds of scientific sounding theories: attention, processing, lack of sensory integration, a little more behavioral term, motivational issues. It's all fairly speculative, but what we do know, and there's lots and lots of evidence to demonstrate this, is that children with autism can learn. We just have to figure out how to make that feedback loop be more effective. Okay, we need to figure out a way to somehow amplify it, and if there's noise in the circuitry, somehow we need to overcome that. All right? And the kind of experience that leads to an understanding of cause and effect is immediate, direct, tangible experience. That's what discrete trial teaching and what ABA is all about. Okay? So we could say that it gives us a way of strengthening the signal. It breaks complex skills down into small, teachable steps, manageable bites at a time. It's very, very precise in the approach as needed, moving toward more natural and flexible as time goes on. And one of the things that I would argue accounts for the effectiveness of it, even though it means it's unnatural, is in fact the repeated practice, because that's what builds fluency. And fluency is what leads a person to be able to be competent. All right? Imagine, you know, you're in second grade. It's probably like pre-K these days. You're learning the math addition tables, right? So what's 2 plus 2? 2 plus 2 is 4. And what's 3 times 3? 3 times 3, that would be 9, okay? I can be 100% accurate with my responses, but if it's taking me that long to come up with the answers, I'm going to be in trouble, all right? Because the world moves too fast. You've got to learn to master the concepts and be very fluent in them, okay? So maybe what it's like for a child with autism is like this.
Nice looking. Roll. Nice looking. Roll.
So it has a very nice feel to it. It's warm. They're having fun together. It's social. It's connected. But it's also very systematic. Okay? Do you see the precision of the timing that allows the child to learn cause and effect? Okay? The second his eyes land on the teacher, that's when the next cool thing happens. Okay? One of the big deficits in kids with autism is that they aren't able to connect with people visually. They're missing out on important information, but they're also not communicating. We communicate with our eyes, okay? When somebody looks at you, it says, I'm ready, I'm here, I'm listening to you, I'm available, okay? It's important. So that's what we're aiming to do within the behavioral teaching paradigm, is we're trying to cut through the noise, carve it down to the bare bones essentials. All right? Here's another example. This is about as bare bones as it can get.
The clock struck 1. Boing! The mouse rang down. Hickory dickory dock. Wanna have it again? One more. Hickory dickory dock. The mouse ran up the clock. The clock struck 1. Boing! The mouse ran down. Hickory dickory dock. Okay, watching.
And now we're going to work.
White.
It's not a bad thing, even though it is a 4-letter word.
do this.
Good one! Well done!
There's a right way and a wrong way to do it. That's what it comes down to, and it's a game. Think of it as a game, okay? And the game is for you to figure out how to win this game. And you got to play by the rules in order to win. And using whatever is necessary to motivate the child, okay? One of the things that we've learned to do so much better compared to 40 years ago is to get really good at social reinforcement. And these guys are amazing, okay? And using tangible as much as you need to back it up, but this is hard work for these little guys. And if they're going to be willing to do that hard work, they have to get paid off. Otherwise, they're going to go back into their autistic world. So the actions that I've shown you so far have been not really language. This is how now we're getting into contingency that involves language.
Yes, you can. There you go. Nice asking.
Blow it to me.
Blow it. That was nice. Get him. Ah, you got him. Nice one.
Blow it to me.
Blow it. Nice one.
If he doesn't say it, it doesn't happen, okay? That's the contingency.
Yeah, that was so good, bud.
Nice.
Woo! Woo! You want to bounce? Bounce, ready? Bounce! Bounce, okay, bounce. Woo! And over here. Bounce and over here. Yay! Bouncy. That was nice work.
There.
Try again.
Smelly feet.
Smelly feet.
Smelly feet.
Yay! Smelly feet. Hey, it's your turn.
Watch it.
Oops, listen. Move. There you go. Wow. Nice one. You are doing so well. Move.
Ew.
Yay! Push it in. Wow. Okay.
Whipped.
Move it. Nice one. There you go. That was so fantastic.
So we call that a prompt. When within a few seconds he couldn't come up with the word on his own, she just modeled it for him, okay? She didn't say, what do you want me to do? It's all about getting the child to initiate, all right? Now the next time that she put her hand there, he came up with it on his own, didn't he? So you might want to think of that as an unprompted trial, but in reality it is prompted because it was only a few seconds after practicing the skill, all right? So that's one of the ways that we set kids up to be successful is if the next opportunity when you need to practice the skill comes up really soon, you're more likely to be able to retrieve it from your memory. Your memory hasn't completely decayed, okay? You know, think about the kids in preschool at circle time, right? You get one trial, if you're lucky, every 2 weeks to practice going and looking out the window and reporting back to the group on what's the weather today, okay? Maybe after 9 months, you'll be able to accurately report whether there's a sun out there or not, okay? if you can get trials more closely spaced, the rate of learning the concepts happens so much faster. All right? You know, when a professional golfer goes to the driving range and he takes a bucket of balls, right? He's going to hit 100, couple hundred balls, and he's going to hit them one after the other because the learning is cumulative across each attempt as long as the trials are closely spaced, okay? You don't like walk up to the tee, right, get ready, take your shot, and then go sit down, have a sip of coffee, check the stock market report. Oh, okay, I think I'm ready to go back and hit another ball, right? You won't improve nearly as much. You might as well just stay there and continue reading the newspaper and drinking your coffee.
Great, you said move, you were awesome. Awesome stuff. Can I get you? Do it again.
That was good. Doing good.
Nice talking.
Sorry. Right here.
Do it again.
Do it again. Do it again.
Nice talking.
Do it again.
You're awesome.
Yes.
You are so awesome. Hey, that's the way.
Okay, one last example here.
Oh, I want to eat.
And this is actually an interesting hybrid of activity here, because all the examples prior to this were what we would call communication temptations, meaning the child comes up with a word to get what he wants. It's all about requesting, okay? I want a cookie, I want some juice, I want to go outside and swing, all right? In this case, they've actually created a learning exercise where he's going to learn to label some toys, but he actually thinks he's requesting something that he likes.
Hey, eat the orange!
Nom, 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 nom.
The banana.
Nom, 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 nom. Yay!
Eat the pineapple!
Apple.
Oops, you didn't say it. Try again.
Oh, eat the grapes!
Hey, Brendan, come back here. Cool. Hey, nice listening, little guy. Wow, you said it. Eat the Triceratops.
All right, you get the
Oh,
idea?
he's full.
So these communication temptations, what we do is we set up a situation where the student needs to verbalize in order to get a specific desire fulfilled. And think about this, like, what is it we're going to teach the child to say? Should we teach him to say, please, or more? Those are probably two of the most useless words that you could possibly teach a child. Because if you think about it, if a child has limited communication repertoire, we know he wants something, all right? It isn't going to help me or help him for him to be able to come up to me and say, I want, or give me, okay? I need to know the end of the sentence. That's what's going to help me, okay? So it's really important to try to focus on being as specific as possible about the language that you're basically the vocabulary that you're building. Does that make sense? And the other thing I mentioned is we're not going to say, what do you want? Because this is all about initiation. We want the child to feel like the desire, the burning desire, and there's only one thing that's going to make it happen. I need to communicate. All right? Now, if you're a child like this little guy who's got the ability to say words, then you've got the perfect ingredients here to do these kinds of verbal communication temptations. Obviously, there's going to be children who aren't there yet. They still have other ways that we can provide to them that serve exactly the same purpose and are every bit as effective about teaching them the process of communication. So verbal request is only one. Sign language or using picture communication system are other approaches that are widely used and have been consistently demonstrated to be effective means for teaching children who aren't to communicate, who aren't yet ready to talk. Even written words. We've actually worked with a few children who can't talk, but they can read. And they can communicate by handing us a card with a written word on it. We call it WEX, for Word Exchange Communication System. You can call it whatever you want. I'll come back to building up the repertoire. I just want to show you how far this can go, though, in terms of sophistication and complexity, using the same basic approach of what we're referring to here as communication temptations. And this is, I'm going to use the term directing. We create a situation where a child has to talk somebody else through a series of steps in order to obtain a desired outcome. In Chris's case here, it's going to be getting a glass of orange juice.
Get the orange juice at the door, by the shelf, next to the milk juice. That's not right.
Is it on the top shelf?
It's next to the lemonade.
Ah, this one.
Yes. I close the fridge, place the bench, walk 10 steps. Put the orange juice on the bench. Get a cup of. Can you move, please? Pull the cupboard. That's not right. Pull the door handle. And now, get a cup out. That's not right. The top one. Quick.
So what's the feedback loop here? It's second by second, isn't it? And what is at a premium here is descriptive, accurate, and richly descriptive language to get what you want. You can contrive the situation in such a way that the child has to use graphic verbs, okay? Not just get it, but pull, turn, twist, right? Above, below, the big one, the little one, all right? So maximizing the descriptiveness of the language, and if he gets it right, forward progress occurs. And if he isn't able to communicate sufficiently or clearly enough, he has immediate graphic feedback that I'm stuck. I don't know what to do. The language that you're using isn't complete enough.
Get the cup out where the green cup is. It's next to the white one.
Yeah.
And close the door. Close it. Open the lid. Turn it. Put the cup on the bench. Pour a half glass Pour a full of glass in. Full. Put the lid on the bench. Pour it. I'll tell you when to stop. Bit more. Bit more. That's enough. Put the bottle on the bench.
Keep going.
And put the lid on the bottle. Put the lid on the... Look, I'll show you.
It's always easier to do it, isn't
On
it?
top. Turn it, spin it.
There we go.
Spin.
Turn it.
You might break it.
Now what?
Hold the bottle and face the fridge. Get the orange juice. Hold it.
I'm holding it.
Walk to the fridge. Take it. Come on.
Pick it up.
Pick it up.
Pick it up.
3 steps. 1, 2, 3. Open the door handle. Bit more. Put the bottle more close. Put the juice in the next to the lemonade. Turn around. You're cheating.
What do I do now? What do I do now?
He has a rule about how the orange juice has to be stored in the fridge. He wants the label facing the back of the door.
Put your hand.
Put your hand on your hand. Don't put it.
Put your hand on the door.
Put your hand on the door. How many times I have to tell
Keep
you?
going.
I hold the bottle.
Oh.
Yes, and put it. That's better. Close the fridge. Walk to my cup. Give it to me. Hold it. Hold it with your hands. Give it to me.
Pick it up.
Pick it up.
Walk.
And give it to me.
Walk to me.
Walk to me. Thank
There you
you.
That was hard work. Sorry? Well, look, there's lots of individual differences, but for whatever a child's starting point is, we start with short activities that only require brief attention, and we gradually move up, okay? The next example I'm going to show you actually is looking at the very, very beginning of shaping attention. And this is for a child who doesn't have a really good word repertoire, so it's just imitating simple sounds. But one of the things that the teacher's working really hard here is to shape good learning behavior, okay? Like being patient, not trying to anticipate what the teacher wants you to say, because she's asking for different sounds, right? And so kids sort of catch on. They'll just start blabbing and they might get lucky. We don't want that. We want them, this is all about learning to, it's as much about learning to listen as it is about learning to talk. And you'll see here a token system. We use token systems a lot with kids because it allows us to use a lower rate of tangible reinforcement. We can stretch it out in between, and yet the child still feels like they're getting frequent reinforcement. The other thing that's really nice about it is that it sort of maps for the child their progress toward being done. Okay?
Oh, hands down. There we are. Nice waiting for me. Nice waiting. Oh, those are mine. Thank you.
Nice looking.
Good. Nice answer. Hands down.
See, that's guessing right there.
Hands down. That was good waiting for me. Ma. There, you fixed it. Good for you. Let's try it again. Nice.
Now do mom. Do it a bit. Do it at a normal speed.
Wait for me.
He's guessing again.
I like how you're waiting right now.
So one of the really interesting things that happens is we have to work very hard to teach the kids to be patient. A lot of times, if you're not careful about how you go about doing this, is you tend to put a premium on getting work done and not enough of a premium on the quality of the work, all right? So like take a worksheet, for example. If we're going really slow with step-by-step moving through the worksheet, some kids get really frustrated with that, okay? And we have to convince them by being really generous with the tokens. We're literally giving them tokens for doing nothing, okay? Now, it's not actually doing nothing. It's actually what we would call being patient, okay? But they need to learn that if I can get you to just write one good letter A on your paper, I'm much happier than having you rush through a whole row of A's and you're not actually getting better at the skill, okay? It's not practice that makes perfect, it's excellent practice that makes perfect, okay? And as far as the attention goes, we start up with activities where the child needs to pay attention in order to be successful. Like for a really young child, it might be a shape sorter. A lot of kids like to use the Braille method on the shape sorter, like they're looking up at the corner of the room and their hands are going like this, and they kind of have learned that sooner or later they'll get lucky. And it takes a little bit longer, but it's not worth the extra effort to be more precise. So they'll settle for half a loaf that comes every so often instead of working really hard to get a full loaf. What you have to do in that case is not allow the piece to go in if the child isn't actually looking. I'll literally put my hand and block them from being able to do it, whether it's a puzzle or a shape sorter, ring stacker, anything like that. Okay? So they have to pay attention for the 2 seconds it takes to put one block in. And then cumulatively, we make them do like 3 blocks nonstop with 100% good attention. Or it's a failed trial, we start all over from the beginning. What time is it? It is 45, okay. Because I could go on like forever. And I usually do that to Ron, but I'm not going to do that today. And we'll let you guys get a chance for some coffee. I think there's a panel after Ron's talk, is that right? So we'll be available for questions then, and also I'm done for the day, so feel free to catch me during the break. All right, thank you, everybody.
The Autism Research Institute relies on the generosity of donors like you to make this webcast possible. If you enjoy this presentation, please consider making a donation. Thank you.